What's up, Emmanuel Fellowship Church? Pastor Sam here. I want to take a minute on the first day of Lent to talk to you guys about what it could look like for you to join with our church family in observing this season. I know for many of you guys, you didn't grow up with a practice of Lent, and it kind of just sounds like a Catholic thing. Like, isn't that the thing with the fish fries, right? And if that's you, I'd love to just encourage you to consider joining in with what our church family is doing in this season. Lent is a practice that Christians have engaged in for a long stinking time. And I think the easiest way to think about it is just this. It's the 40 days leading up to Resurrection Sunday, when we're going to celebrate Christ's resurrection at Easter, the most fundamental, joyous doctrine of the gospel. And I think Lent is a time where we take those days leading up to Easter to just kind of give ourselves a spiritual check-in, a spiritual reset, to prepare our hearts for the celebration that's to come. And so traditionally, Christians have done this by focusing in on the reality of sin and the reality of the curse and the necessity of the resurrection. And so that's often engaged in through fasting. And so a really appropriate way to engage Lent would be to set aside a day of the week or maybe a meal out of the day and just say, hey, for these 40 days, I'm going to fast during this time and replace that meal time with time connecting with the Lord through prayer and through journaling and through scripture reading. Another really appropriate way to engage in Lent would be to pick something you love and you enjoy and fast from that. That's an appropriate expression of it. Maybe it's a favorite food or sweets or an activity like media consumption or something like that that you choose to refrain from for the season of Lent, and to replace the time you would have spent enjoying that thing with time connecting to the Lord. Maybe that's time in Scripture or time in prayer or time in discipleship. If you're not really just feeling fasting, or maybe this is your first time observing Lent, a really wise and easy way to step in will just be to pick a spiritual discipline that you want to grow in this season. And so that could look like jumping in with me in this 40-day prayer challenge that we're doing on the Bible app, where we set aside a few minutes each day to read a quick scripture and pray and engage God and grow in that part of our faith. You could jump into the New Testament Bible reading plan that many people in our church are doing, or you could think through any number of other spiritual disciplines. Maybe it's adding journaling or scripture reading into your current spiritual practices. Another really good way to engage the reality of Lent is to look soberly at your own life and to consider if there are areas of sin and unrepentance that you want to engage afresh and grow in holiness and really see growth in them. And so maybe that involves stepping into a season of some real confession with a pastor, with a friend, with a counselor, so that you can see some real spiritual breakthrough in your life. Regardless of what you choose to do, I would strongly encourage you guys. Like, we have an invitation in the season of Lent to prepare our hearts for the celebration of Easter. Like, let's not waste these 40 days leading up to Resurrection Sunday. Let's take a sober look at our hearts and consider what it looks like to grow in godliness and grow in holiness and grow together toward the Lord. Reach out if you have any questions, if there's any way that I can help you think through ways to engage in this season. Love you guys. We'll see you Sunday.